everyone. How are you? For those of you who, I'm Katrina, and the other one with the same background as Alison. And we did ask in our follow-up invitation, what do Chris Hemsworth, the plate of beans and alarm clock have in common? So if you want to ponder that while we're spending the next 30 minutes together, and, you know, when it all makes sense to you, pop it in the chat for a bit of fun. This will be a fast, furious, but fun 30 minutes. So lovely to have you all online. Thank you so much for giving us 30 minutes of your precious, precious time. It is all about time. It's about the gift of time today. Special welcome from people with, New Zealand, Japan, Singapore, the UK, and even the US. What time is it there? Thank you for joining us today. And for some of our collaboration partners. So it's lovely to see some long-time faces and some new faces with us today. Probably pop yourself on mute. Not you, Alison. You're up next.
And Katrina, if you could keep an eye on the waiting room and let people in as we go, that would be
sure thing.
Terrific. So thanks, everyone. As Katrina said, I'm Alison Hernandez, for those of you that don't know me. And I'd like to begin with paying our respects to the traditional owners of the land that we have the pleasure to live and work on. For me, that is the Bundjalung people of the Northern Rivers region of New South Wales. And for Katrina, the Kaurna people of the beautiful Floro Peninsula in South Australia. And we would like to acknowledge any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people joining us today.
Thanks, Ali. Oops, there we go. Now, Ali and I are celebrating 25 years of working together, and the last 20 focusing on demographic change. And some of you have worked with us since our Sageco days or even our Olympic days, some since RiseSmart and some very new. And we've been told when we started Sageco, we were on the curve of, the beginning of demographic change. And so after all these years, we've made a conscious decision not to leave that curve, to keep riding the wave and looking at recreating our partnership to breathe life into longevity. So when we think about ReCreate100, it is around the gift of time. The gift of time to rethink and recreate the rest of your life within the context of longevity. So you might have caught this in the waiting room, and if you didn't, there's this rather alarming photo. This year is 2049. If we managed to stay working together for the next 25 years, this is what we may well look like.
I look slightly pained in that photo.
You do?
So I don't know what that says to me.
No,
but
I'm not sure either.
And we are happy to share any skincare tips, obviously, along the way. So Katrina and I are long-term followers and admirers of Professors Linda Grattan and Andrew Scott of London Business School. And we have been inspired since 2017 by their best-selling book, The 100-Year Life. If any of you read it, pop it in the chat. We're so grateful to Linda and Andrew for their support and advocacy with our Recreate 100 initiative. I was in London last month, actually, and fortunate enough to attend a masterclass led by Linda, where she noted that longevity had been the most significant trend across her life's work. And there's a lot of work in there, so that's pretty impressive. And she also noted that she's heartened to see increased interest globally from boards and executive teams on longevity and what it actually means for business. And you'll see there, Andrew's latest book, The Longevity Imperative, is out now, exploring increasing lifespan and the implications on society. So that's super interesting and well worth the read.
So we've drawn from a global review of research and literature from longevity experts that you'll be familiar with already, Dr. Peter Attia, Dan Buettner of the Blue Zones fame, one of my favourites, Tim Spector, who's one of the top 100 cited professors on science and nutrition and science, Dr. Amantha Imber from Melbourne, and locally, Ali's neighbour, well, not quite neighbour, but very much in the Northern Rivers, Chris Hemsworth, and his series Limitless, which is available on Disney Plus and I think Channel 9 at the moment, free. If you've not seen it, it's a fantastic doco for all sorts of great reasons. Yeah, that's all right. I'll see if I can. Go for it, Ali.
We were really excited actually to announce that we launched ReCreate100 in China earlier this year. We partnered with Sandy Wong and Shirley Sun and their team, and longevity is obviously a huge topic in China. So we had to speed up and get our solution to market there. But what do we really mean by longevity? Katrina, give us a simple definition.
Okay, I will when the screen doesn't freeze. Here we go. Let's see. Well, you know, we all know it means long life. It really does just mean long life. That's the derivative, or your length of life. And importantly, I think in this new world of thinking about longevity, because we really are, you know, experiencing it, it's the useful lifespan of things and of people. So breathing life into our years and living longer, but living healthier. So there's so many factors that contribute to longevity, like the advances in science and medicine, reduction in infant mortality, increased survival rates from chronic illness, improved nutrition. Oh my gosh, nutrition's such a cornerstone of longevity, health education, and the many predictions of the limits of life expectancy have been broken. So we really are looking at a new lens, longevity through a new lens.
And if you had a moment there in the waiting room, you would have seen that in the 100-Year Life, Linda and Andrew invite us to think about what our 70, 80 or 100-year-old selves would think of us now. You know, can we be sure that the decisions we are making will stand up to the scrutiny of our future selves? And I think that gives us such an interesting lens on our lives. Time is such a scarce resource. And if we knew that we had a certain number of minutes left on our clock, what would we choose to do differently? What would we do more of? And what would we decide to do less of? We would love you just to reflect on that for a moment and just record one thing in the chat that you would either do more of or less of, knowing that there are a certain number of minutes on the clock.
Yeah.
Less worrying, yes.
Yes, purposeful travel, be in the moment.
Time in
what is
nature.
the Annie Dilma, how we spend our days is how we live our lives. So true. Yes. So true.
And so today we mentioned in the invitation that it's World Population Day. It's 35 years actually since this day was established by the UN in 1989 to recognise the economic, social and geopolitical consequences of declining population growth and identifying the replacement rate needed to keep our population constant. We'll come on to that in a second. We love the slogan this year, which is to leave no one behind and to count everyone, looking at it through the priorities of human rights, gender equality, poverty and fertility. Now, as of today, the Worldometer, and that is a real thing, tells me that we have a global population of 8.121 billion people, with India being the largest population, having overtaken China in 2022. So given that we've ignited a few stats and facts, Katrina, let's go to the Quizmaster now and provide a little more context for today. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Ali. Right, we're just going to share this screen, although it's not quite what I wanted to share.
And happy World Population Day, everyone.
Yes. Who
Does
knew?
anyone have any babies born this week in their families or in their network, replenishing the population?
There we go. So we've got the quiz. You know the drill. If you're a Menti person, you just scan or you join with another browser. And Ali's popped the code in the chat.
Doing that right now, Katrina. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Can't see the question yet, though.
Okay. Okay, let's just look at this.
Love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah. Hard to get good help.
Okay, the code is in the chat. If you go to Menti on your phone or on your separate window in your browser, you can like the longevity quiz, and we'll kick off with question number 1, please, Katrina.
All right, here we go. I think. Okay, what is the replacement rate of births needed No, is that our question, Ali?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, yay. Okay, we're on track. Replacement rate of births needed to maintain the current global population. Is it 1.8? Is it 2.2? Is it 2.6? What's it going to be, people?
You have 10 seconds. No
Yeah,
pressure.
tick, 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 tick. We're all about time. Gift of time. Tick, tick, tick. Wow. Okay. There's some hopeful that it is the question. The answer is 2.2.
2.2, and some demographers are referring to the current landscape as a baby bust.
Look at the 2.2s come in, Ali. Sorry.
2.2 is coming in now. Well, because people didn't know the answer.
Yeah.
Fertility is declining almost everywhere for women of all education levels, income levels, and labour force participation cohorts. In fact, the front page of the Wall Street Journal recently read, "Suddenly there aren't enough babies. The whole world is alarmed." And actually, Korea is one of the most alarmed because the birth rate there, considering we need 2.2, the birth rate in Korea is 0.72. China just behind at 1.19, Japan at 1.3, Australia and New Zealand faring slightly better at 1.63 and 1.56 respectively. But what does it mean when we're not hitting 2.2?
So we've heard that fertility is declining. The Japanese Prime Minister, Fumio Kishida, said the collapse of the birth rate is leaving Japan on the verge of whether it can function as a society. So they understandably have been progressing their policy. Which of the following measures is not being introduced in Japan to boost fertility rates? Oh, there's some conjecture. Look, it's pretty even race at the moment, Ali. Free college for 3 or more children, annual fertility festival. Come on. Who'd do that? Income tax benefits for new mothers. Tick, 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 tick. All right, Ali. The answer is C, income tax benefits for new mothers.
And actually, that was introduced in Hungary, not Japan. Japan have introduced free college if you have more than 3 children. And they also host an annual fertility festival. I don't know if anyone's been, you don't need to tell us here, but annual income tax benefits for new mothers was introduced in Hungary last year for new mothers aged under 30. And that added to a previous incentive for mothers who were having 4 or more children. So some really interesting and far-reaching initiatives in public policy. And yes, Jacinta, I think a baby bonus is probably on the horizon, although it caused just a minor blip when it was introduced last time.
Yeah. We missed out on the baby bonus with our first, just saying. What is the current global life expectancy? 73.4, 71.2, 77.8. There's anyone's guess. Oh, even race. No, not quite. The correct answer is 73.4.
I think that's somewhat surprising. I think, as we can see, most people think it's 77 and above. I think it's starting to slow down quite significantly. And part of this impact is due to mortality rates during COVID. So that did have an impact, and it sort of shrunk the growth from a previous increase of 2 to 3 years per decade. Now about... Oh, that is
really
gorgeous. Could you just
how good. Good.
I don't know who it is.
It's calm now. Like the first couple of weeks was just one-on-ones.
I think it's Kath Hume.
Wanted to introduce themselves to me.
There we go.
Just a whole lot of mush in my brain.
No, we'll pin her.
Okay, here we go. So it has slowed down, and it's just starting, though, to increase again. Next question, please.
Oh, okay. Next question is, what percentage of children born in the last decade, anyone got one, are likely to live to 100? Is it 36%, 50%, or 67%? This is where our 100-year life starts to really come into play. Anyone got any 10 or sub 10-year-olds in their life? They're going to be around for a little while longer. Well,
split here.
50% are going to be around for 100 till they're 100, or likely to.
So in a longer life, which is inherently more complex, it will require a lot more support for our children as they enter adulthood and go into the workforce. And hold that thought. Question 5.
Question 5. Last one. Which country launched the first charter and action plan on longevity? Is it Finland, China, or France? Oh, yeah. This is what I suspected.
Of course, Peggy. Peggy's got a vote in for France.
Yeah, surely. Well, it's not Finland. It is France.
It is France, indeed. Club Landoy was launched in France in 2022, showcasing initially about 30 organisations who signed a longevity charter and committed to a longevity action plan. So we've been watching that really closely, and the number of organisations has now grown to 136 and includes companies like Air France, AXA, Pernod Ricard, L'Oreal, Schneider, and La Poste, who have actually integrated longevity into their strategic action plan, looking at both customer and workforce. If you think about a postal service, such a fundamental role to play in the community, and with an aging population, they're developing new services to combat isolation and loneliness and support their customer base, which I thought was really interesting. But across all of those organizations, no one is immune to the impacts of longevity, and every organization is considering the impact. If you think about the superannuation cliff, with, you know, the last of the baby boomer generation turns 60 this year in 2024, and people will begin to increasingly access their super funds. So those retirement and super funds are, you know, having to look and innovate around their offerings.
Yeah. So congratulations to anyone with a perfect score. Did anyone get 5? Pop it in the chat.
Anyone get 5 out of 5?
Yeah. I don't know that. I've been through this quiz. I wrote the quiz and I don't think I would have got 5. Anyway, moving right along. Ali, it's really easy to get overwhelmed by all this longevity, the facts and the figures. So, but why is it crucial for sustainability and social impact?
So that was a bit of fun, but it was also just to engage you in some longevity literacy and think about, you know, how much we know and how much we need to know. Longevity requires a rethink on 3 fundamental levels: societal, organizational, and individual, because it impacts sort of every aspect, you know, economic growth, work, retirement, family, healthy aging, financial reform, as we've touched on. But at an organizational level, we can look through, as I mentioned before, with Post in France, the workforce and the customer lens. So from a workforce perspective, how are we keeping our people happy, healthy, active and engaged over a much longer working life? You know, my own father worked for 35 years and, you know, within a few years, he'll be 35 years in retirement. That has changed. How can we optimize people's productivity and what I prefer to call sustainable high performance over a longer working life? We're going to see many more transition points and career breaks, reinvention, and people developing deep smarts and mastery over the course of their careers. We're experimenting in organizations rapidly with AI, and Microsoft Work Index tells us that can refund up to 30% of our time. So what are we going to do with that refund of our time? What will our people choose to do with that refund of time? How can we redesign work intentionally and purposefully to really optimize the benefits of that? And of course, from a customer perspective, needing to innovate products and services and embrace the longevity economy, which I think we have Prime Life Partners on the line. They shared in a recent paper, the longevity market in Australia will grow to over $110 billion over the next few years. And that was in the intergenerational report. However, economists are saying that worsening demographics could lead to a second consecutive lost decade for global economic growth. So this is something we really can't afford to ignore. But as we saw before, and as you can see here, Linda talks a lot about societal change actually happening at the individual level. And I think it's then the organisations and society and policy and reform that catches up. And longevity for us, for you, for me, for all of us means extending our working lives is often an economic necessity. And if we've got more time and therefore more future, what will we choose to do with it? How are we thinking about this? How are our people thinking about this? And what is our role in facilitating that conversation? And, you know, we're interested to see the rise of the Chief Longevity Officer emerging in organisations and advising the Chief Executive and the board on the customer and the workforce perspectives of longevity. So there's a little bit of context and a bit of a business case builder for you, but let's have a look at some of the actions. We're very much about action and outcomes and impact at ReCreate100. So let's have a look at what we can do. Our goal is really, and always has been, to provide a catalyst for people to take action around the S in ESG. And we know that the social impact is increasingly woven into as a KPI for HR people. So we want to help you sort of breathe life into this topic of longevity in a practical sense. What does that mean? You can engage us for a keynote presentation at your next offsite or conference. Bring us in for a board briefing to elevate longevity literacy and have that important conversation. Leadership forums where we will help you to create a longevity action plan. And we have some powerful ReCreate100 employee workshops that will connect your people around this topic, and they will love you for it. We've created a framework to cut through the noise around longevity, and it's, I have to say, frighteningly simple, but very powerful. Some people may leave with one thing that could change the rest of their life, and others will leave with a raft of new habits to form a 100-day action plan. But as we said, change happens at the individual level. So let's start there. Katrina, can you just sort of step us around the framework and what's come out of this for you over the last year that we've been deeply immersed in this, this subject?
Thank you, Alex. So the basis of this framework is drawn from the 100-Year Life book. We've used different words, but it really does encompass the wide range of activities that we can take to improve longevity and improve our health and our well-being and breathe those life into years. So money is one, and to say that over the last 12 months or 20 years, but the last 12 months, Ali and I have been really going through so much stuff and trying to connect some dots, I think. And so some of the things, this is just personally out of our reading, things that they've resonated with me, but actually taken action on. So, you know, questions around money, you know, getting your will sorted is just, you know, changes. Both my kids are now adults and I'm going, need to get that will sorted. Another question, do I really need to buy that? I can rent something fabulous for a show. I don't need to spend, where do I spend my money? Thinking about making it last for all those years. Then we move to mindset, and I love the saying, change is inevitable and growth is optional. And I think it's so easy as we accumulate our years to really have that growth mindset and going, you know, that hasn't happened yet, you know. So rather than thinking, you know, I think, oh, I wish I'd done that. Well, I haven't done it yet, and I still can. So that power of reframing for a growth mindset for me. And so, you know, these are things that we discuss in the workshop and that people will walk away with. Breathing is always good. It's good to remember to breathe. It improves things markedly. In work, me, when I've been looking, Linda and Andrew talk a lot about the multi-stage life, and I actually think there's a freedom in that multi-stage approach to work, particularly as you just get to choose what brings you joy, what you love doing, and accumulate a portfolio of that if you're lucky to do that, and change the way work happens in your life. But for me, that's a great one, and that's certainly always a challenge in a workshop to free people up to think about what work can look like for them, working longer but working differently. And then final, well-being is such a huge topic and fun topic around physical, mental and social well-being. As I alluded to before, one of the things I've discovered and spent a lot of time in the last 12 months is listening to the Zoe Science and Nutrition podcasts, their books, their recipes, Professor Tim Spector, just the evidence base around food. So a lot of it is stuff that you already know, but it's compelling evidence. So And it's also very much about adding to your diet, not eating ultra high processed foods, but adding to your diet. So adding beans to your diet, an awesome one for the fiber and the protein. Snacking on nuts, a good one. Fermented food. All those things just come to light and can just make such a significant impact on our longevity. Ali, what about you?
I think for me, Katrina, the overarching sort of mantra that I've come away with is we now have to imagine many possible futures for ourselves and for those we love. In terms of new habits, so many changes actually that I've taken on. I'm one of those people that puts things, I think it's a good idea, but then, a month down the track, a year down the track, I haven't actually done it. But this has really prompted me to take action around a few things. So I think I've realized for the first time in my career that energy management has got such a huge part to play, not only on my mindset.
Finally.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I thought I only had one speed, but actually no, I have several speeds. And there is a break. So a huge part to play on my mindset and my well-being. So I've been really intentional this last year about the flow of work and the rhythm of my day and my week. And I've actually had clients say to me, you just seem so much calmer these days, which is nice. Also, I'm a self-professed nut grazer. So you can see here, I have a jar of nuts on my desk at all times, and that sort of 30 grams of nuts a day, research shows in a longitudinal study, can give you another 2 or 3 bonus years. I mean, it's incredible, the amalgamation of these habits and the difference it can make. And also looking at the strength training and diet at this life stage. So having a life stage view of longevity and the impact of menopause and doing things differently. What served me well 5 years ago is not necessarily going to serve me well now. So a lot of stuff's come out of this for me, and I would say for those that I love. So imagine the power of your workforce recreating their own future and putting in place positive new habits and taking action around money, mindset, work, and well-being. And we absolutely recognize, from having worked in this space for 20 years, there are often lots of initiatives underway. But what we find often is that they're disparate and that they're not sort of cohesive. And often they're there, but people don't know about them. So this is simply about giving people the very valuable gift of time and bringing it together in a really comprehensive and integrated way. And as the saying goes, Katrina, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So this is relevant for all ages and all life stages. And the best time to start is probably early career.
Longevity is a very unifying concept, as is death, but I prefer longevity right now. So, we've had a very fast and furious 30 minutes together. What is one thing you might take away? You can pop it in the chat. One thing you can do as a result, something that sparked your attention. We would love to hear about it. You just pop it in the chat. That would be truly awesome. It has been so heartening to see everyone's faces, and both new and long time. It's been just a lovely injection of joy. So thank you for that. Ali, over to you for closing comments.
Thank you, everyone, for giving us the gift of your time today. We wanted to keep it short and sweet and really a thought starter that will ignite further conversation, which we absolutely would love to have with you. So let us know. Follow us on ReCreate100 on LinkedIn. Our new website went live this morning, and become part of our longevity community. I think it's clear from the last year that the time to prepare our organizations and our people for this is now. The UN states that population aging is one of the most significant challenges of this century. And you can see here a quote from Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, in a special address to the World Economic Forum. We cannot build a future for our grandchildren with a system built for our grandparents. And oh, how true that is. Mm-hmm. So together, we love to embrace the longevity economy and reimagine a system that breathes new life into this topic. Thank you all so much for sharing in the chat there. We'll take time to go through those.
We'll be in your inbox. We'll follow you with some
resources. We have resources and curated content, and we look forward to staying in touch. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a great rest of the day. Bye for now.
Thank you.